G'day everyone, it's a new year and it's a new camera. I hope you don't mind, I'm just trying this out. This thing is a lot more convenient than my other camera. Today the plan is to turn this pile of scrap metal into one of these. A little while ago I made something that we all ended up calling the dual burner rocket stove oven. And it looked something very similar to this. We have a fully insulated burn chamber. We have a nice feed angle here. It's very easy to control this stove. And the idea is that you put a pot on top, and that's going to divert some of the fire, or what's left of the heat, across the top. And you can then put a second pot on here. So you've sort of got two different heat sources. This is obviously a little bit less, but that usually works out just fine. And then on top of that, we have, there's the instructions, we have an oven. Now, how this is different from the other one is that everything in here, bar the door, is insulated. The roof is insulated, the sidewalls are insulated, the floor is insulated. I just went crazy with the insulation, and I'm really keen to see what this achieves. Got this nice little viewing port. Also, if it's too hot in there, you can let some of the air out. Nice little thermometer on the side. This one is about to be packaged up and sent off. Also, I'm not fully convinced on this, so I'm going to trial this before I make it a permanent thing, but this is Core 10 steel. Now, Core 10 is a steel that rusts, but once it rusts, that oxidized layer sets and it doesn't rust anymore. This is a very good steel to have unpainted, and in this situation it's going to distort a lot less than stainless steel. It's also going to transfer the heat heaps better than stainless steel. And the purpose of this is a cooking surface to have on top so that you're not sooting up the bottom of your cookware, which is annoying, I'll agree. But whether that's a permanently attached thing or whether you can take it off, I'm still umming and ahhing. I've got rivet holes there that are dangerously close to being filled with rivets, but before I make that final commitment, I want to make my own now and give it a good run. The bloke that's receiving this is actually working overseas on a remote island, and I'm super excited for this sort of thing to go over there. So that's awesome. I'm like pumped where this is going to end up. My family and I have lived overseas. We've done all sorts of interesting stuff overseas, most of it church related, and living on an island with the islanders in their grass huts. Like I mean, when I say grass hut, these things were amazing structures. I mean, these guys were like master craftsmen, would build these amazing structures. You know, they all cooked their food on open fires. That uses a lot of wood, and it created a lot of smoke and pollution. And sadly, everywhere you went, people had runny noses from just smoke inhalation or a cough. And I guess part of that journey was kind of what got me interested in stuff like this. So, yeah. Right. Put those aside. A lot of separate components here. That's the base plate. That is a side wall for the burn chamber. This is the other side. So the big improvement here is that the old burn chamber from the first one was 0.9. This is 1.2. Also, the burn chamber is wider than the other one. So I've gone for a slightly larger capacity, and I'm very interested to see what that does. So at the end of the day, it's going to look something like this. Got all this capacity here for ash and stuff. This seems to be a really good ratio. Like the first one was just incredible. Like so good that, you know, My wife is the guinea pig, or the test subject, if you like. If she likes cooking on one of these, that's a big endorsement. Because she likes gas. When we're camping, she's like, pack the gas barbecue. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. But with this one, she's actually like, I could totally use this and cook on it. It was quite easy to run, easy to maintain. And so I've increased the capacity. My thoughts there is larger burn chamber should equal longer burn time before you have to start clearing out the ash. That's sort of what I'm going for. There's a risk if you go too big with a burn chamber, you're going to end up over-fueling the system, and you're going to end up with smoke because you can put more fuel in there than what can be consumed. It's pretty simple. Kind of like a car running rich. There comes a point where more petrol doesn't equal more power. It just is wasteful. That's how I think of these stoves. Overfueling is just wasteful, and you end up with an unclean combustion. So I'm walking a fine line. Increase the burn chamber, hopefully longer burn time, particularly with an oven being attached. I want to be able to, go 45 minutes, 50 minutes before I have to do anything, if that makes sense. I have reasons. There's some methodist to my madness. Something like that. I think I screwed up with this first batch of laser cutting. The holes are just too tight. These are 3/16 rivets, or 4.8 millimeter. And I'm pretty sure these holes, like that one, is exactly 4.8 millimeter. It's not going to go. So that one's a good fit. This one, it's a bit annoying, but add that to the lists of changes. I've got to open up these holes. Normally, if I do my job properly, I like to run a 5mm hole. So 4.8, 5mm, that is just the right amount of clearance for getting a satisfactory alignment, if that makes sense. I'm not going for aerospace engineering tolerances. This is a rocket stove, not a spaceship. It doesn't need that kind of tolerances. In fact, if you look here, see how we have slots? That is for the thermal expansion of the material. The top rivet is set solid. There's no give in that hole. But all of the next ones down have give. As this gets hotter and it wants to expand, there's room for it to expand, and it should help prevent buckling, is the plan. If it's got somewhere to go, well, it'll go there and not buckle the material. That's why that cutout's there, so that the rivet gun has clearance to be able to do that one up. That's called foresight. Okay, so this is what we're achieved. And put that there. And for all I know, this might not be enough rivets. It could buckle a little bit in between there. I don't know. This is why I'm making a prototype. I'm fairly confident that it's going to be okay, but I'm also fairly confident that there'll be some minor improvements that I'll make that won't really affect the performance of the stove. That'll just be like, tidying things up. Stuff that there's always something that you overlook. All right, burn chamber, this part anyway, is now complete. We can bang the other side on. First, let's do that. This kind of feels like some of my really early videos. Before I learned how to edit and actually make a short video that's like, some of those early ones, man. I look back now and I'm like, it's kind of cringe. But I had to start somewhere. All right, one burn chamber. Now there is a third piece that will go in here, but it rivets onto the front face, so we don't have to worry about it right now. What we can do, Can you see what I'm doing? All right. So this will be the base of the burn chamber. And this also receives some insulation, but can't do that yet. All the insulation happens just before all the final skins go on. This is hard to do one-handed. That looks good. Everything's all sealed up. Very nice. Now, there's a bit, what I call the bypass chamber, that enables the heat to sort of travel and bypass the first burn chamber and gives you the second hot plate spot. Okay, this is said bypass chamber, and it needs a little end cap on it, which will get riveted, oops, on there, if I don't break it. It's actually a little bit tight. And then it drops in. That went from ridiculously tight to almost too loose. I would love it if I had a really short rivet gun and I could put these rivets in here on the inside, but the only rivet that I can reach from the inside is this one, which means the rest I have to do from the outside, and well, you're stuck looking at the ugly side, but at the end of the day, it just can't be helped. The reason I use rivets is it's the most efficient way of assembling this sort of a stove. If I was to weld all of this together, the time that would take, then the cleanup, I'd have to charge a significant amount more to be able to afford to do that. Even just welding consumables like welding gas, TIG wire, all that stuff. On top of that, if I need help, let's say I had a run of these and I needed help to get some assembled. It doesn't take long to teach someone how to use one of these. Still is a bit of care, you know, a few safety precautions, but you know, this is a very efficient way to join metal together. Well, I've made and when my daughter saw this, she's like, "You made half of a baking tray." I guess I sort of did, except for those rivets on the inside. Okay, now this goes up between there, just like that. Well, very nice. Ooh. And done. Like I say, if I had to weld all this together, I'd have to just charge so much more to be able to justify it. The bottom of our thingamabob, the oven. So this isn't the bit you'll see, this is the bottom of the stove. But I have to rivet this on now, because once the next part goes in, which seals the insulation in, these rivets won't be accessible. So you kind of got to really, it'd be really easy to rivet this thing together in such a way that you could totally screw it up because you missed a step that had to happen and now it's fully enclosed and you just can't get to it. So when designing something, that's the challenge, to make something that's actually buildable. You'd be surprised how easy it is to build yourself into a corner and not be able to achieve what you want to, and the way you want it to. And you've got to start thinking, well, usually at that point you've got to start cutting stuff up, and that ain't fun. These ones are a bit of a funny angle, but it's not too bad. Now, and that can be riveted in, but first, look at that, those holes line up so nicely. Except they're probably all small. Let's check. No! There you go. So only half screwed up. Great. All right, I'm going to go cut some insulation. Okay, gloves. Thankfully, I've got one more bag of this stuff. This is a ceramic wool. And, it's usually used in constructions of like kilns and blast furnaces and stuff. Now, depending on where you get it, it's not too expensive. And it's an excellent insulation. Like, it just does a fantastic job. It's really easy to remove layers like that too. Instead of buying the thin stuff, just buy the thick stuff and peel off layers as you need them. That should fit in there. Wow, that's not the right size. I'll have to add a bit to that. All right. That'll do it. All right. Now that's got to just have a little bit of room there to go down. And I've got to tuck it up underneath this one. That. Something like that. And it's probably not easy to see, but I've got folds and different things. I'm encasing this stuff as best as I can, because that's going to help the insulation value of it. And also just keep the fibre inside the machine, inside the thing where I want it. I think that's it. Yes. Okay. This one, as you can see, it's got the opening. Let's put it around. It goes on there. Okay. So that's the top, that's the bottom, that's the front side that you'll see from the oven, and this goes up against there and is riveted together. Now, this hole is for the temperature gauge. It's just a standard barbecue temperature gauge. Probably the one you'll see in this video isn't the one I'm going to keep using. It's actually, the threaded part on it is just the tiniest bit too short, and I had to machine the nut back and put a recess on it so it could get far enough through the hole to pick up the first threads. After that it was fine, but that's not something that I want to do every stove. So yeah, that one's just for this video. So I need to cut some more insulation to whack in there. That means gloves. This is one of the areas that I made a bit of a mistake. Basically, I created an impossible fold, and I had to sort of swap between my press brake and my pan brake in order to get that double back zigzag fold. That's a very short distance to have to fold back on, you know, so they're very close together. For a little pan brake, that's fine, except I don't have a little pan brake anymore. I've only got that massive thing, and even it was like just pushing on the edge of not being able to get that fold, and that's why I'm now having to podgy that across in order to get these rivets in. I found the podgy bar. Oh, that's so close. Ah! I think the hole was too small, actually. Another one I've got to fix. Alrighty. I can put that rivet in now. This is a new system that I'm trialing to keep the door shut, is just having a rivet on either side and appropriate geometry on the door so that it sort of slips over and locks. Works pretty good, actually. It's a lot less messing about than the old system that I had. it was like a fancy little spring, and I had to sort of just fiddle it, and it took ages to get it right. Where this seems to be pretty foolproof, actually. Big improvement on the old one. Right, that is a finished wall. Oh, this guy can go on now. This one's a bit munted. Yeah, beginner's mistake on this part. It's not too bad, but it's not as happy as I'd like it to be. Lovely. Okay. Now, that, oof, slips in there. Delightful. This part needs to go on before that goes on, which means more insulation. Yay! And this whole side wall is going to be insulated in this chamber and the chamber right around the back here, this whole section of the riser. So pretty much we have a fully insulated riser, except for this side, which is the wall, the back wall inside the oven, where most of the heat's generated from. Oh, that's been there for a while. Been waiting a while to use this bag. Tuck that in there. Okay. Just peel some of that off. Okay. I think it's at this point that I can actually put the feet on it. Yes, I can actually put the feet on it now. There you go, something like that. A lot of these rivets are doing multiple jobs. I kinked my hose. Much better. This is where a cumulative error begins to raise its ugly head. Okay, that all looks pretty good. Get the rivets on this side. Leaving all of this unriveted so that there's more freedom of movement to help align this side. Once all of those are in, can pop it all off. Done. Alrighty. Have some legs. Keeps it just off the table so you don't burn the house down. Shouldn't be. All that insulation in there. I obviously don't know until I test it, but I'm hoping that that'll only get warm. Okay. Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's an improvement. Tack it off. Basically, that should have pulled the whole thing perfectly square now, because these laser cut holes and this part not being folded, it should be perfectly square. That should mean that all of these will just fall in. Ha! And look at that. They do. Nice. Now, the rest of these holes are separate components and will need slight tweaking to align, but just like that, we're in. Meaning that I must have done a reasonable job at folding, because that's very minor tweaking as far as I'm concerned. That is so close. Now will this one go? Oh, it wants to. All right. Nice. Now we can put the back on it. Oh, my camera's about to run out of battery. I nearly forgot this part. Very tight. Come on now. I nearly forgot about this part. This is the roof of the oven, and that is what holds insulation in the top section. So that way we have 3 walls of insulation. That also caps the top of this. Oh, I did it again. I can't put those rivets in yet because that's what holds the lid on. So I'll have to drill those out. Gotta drill those out. All right. Look at that. Like a glove. Alrighty. Insulation for the top. Won't waste it. Everything's topped up, filled to the top. Woohoo! We are getting close. There we go. Even with the drill bit running through some of these holes, you might be concerned that it's going to reduce the strength of the rivet, but it really doesn't. The amount that I'm actually drilling out is so minute. I'm more or less just opening it up to the size that it should have been had I not screwed up in CAD. And the frustrating thing now is that, is it misaligned or is the hole just too small because I made a mistake? And I mean, I was really inconsistent too, because some of them are perfect. the pot rails. Of which there are a left and a right. We're getting very, very, very close. That'll go. All right. Last two. Well, almost the last two. Here we go. Very nice. These are the pot rails. Now, this is what you stick your cooking utensil on, and they, like most things, are pulling double duty. They're reinforcing the top, and also my initial design for this stove was to sit. You sit a pot directly on top of this, and the heat would just naturally bypass and come out here, and you'd have a raised section here for the pot. But what I discovered was that was too much restriction, and so in desperation I grabbed a piece of 25 by 25 RHS and laid it along the top and set the pot on top of that, and that was the mystical number. That airflow that came through here was just the right amount for the whole system to work. And so I've just always been, well, I can just add two nice folded strips that gives a good base for a pot or a frying pan or whatever you're using. I've put Dutch ovens on top of these, they work great. And also it just reinforces the top, keeping it nice and rigid, and it's low profile, you can't lose it. There's so many advantages to this, and it has to be there for the system to work, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm giving away all the secrets today. Somewhere around I have my logo. As you can see, I have a myriad of different jobs. Here it is. There we go. I'm going to keep mine unpainted as a way for future reference for people who may come across this stove. They will see this. They'll see this unpainted one with the Lars, and they will know that this is an original. One of the early ones. Yeah. I had a guy in the UK who was actually collecting my stoves, which is kind of flattering, but also, as someone pointed out, it's like, dude, you're not dead and they're collecting your stuff. That's nice. And I was like, thanks. Well, this one. Nice. There we go. Okay, final piece of the puzzle is the door for the oven. So that is quite hard to move. So I'm going to have to fix it. And the way you fix it is with a hammer. There. That's probably too much. But that little dimple, yeah, it's too much. We'll flatten it out a bit. Just the slightest dimple is what it needs. Kind of like, you know, Shirley Temple sized dimples, you know. So that's closed, that's open. This is like a viewing port if you don't want to open the whole oven to check on it. And also, if it's too hot, you can let some of the air out, or let a lot of air out. Minute adjustment. Like that. Nice. Come on, baby. Yes. All right. This is one of the stuff-ups. I forgot to put that hole in there. So this one I have to drill, but apart from that, we're done. Oh, the last rivet. Here we go. Done. Oh. Well, it's stinking hot, but I don't care. I'm going to light a fire in the safety of my shed, which is predominantly made of wood and steel and wood. All right. Oh, that's actually light. I was like not sure how heavy it is. That was a complaint with my last one. It was a bit on the heavy side. 14.13. So probably by the time we add packaging and everything else, it's going to be probably around 16 kilos the post. But dry, 14 point. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. It's good. It's good. We haven't compromised on strength, but we've been able to get the weight down and add extra insulation. That is, I'm really pleased. It's good. All right. Let's light this thing. Ha! So I've been cooking on this thing for a week now, and I feel like I'm ready to put a roast in it. This is a rib rolled roast, seasoned, based in port wine and garlic. It's a nice little roast, and I'm going to do my best to cook it in this thing. And yep, first test run was like sort of learning the ropes. Now I've got it figured out. I'm really enjoying cooking on this. I've basically cooked dinner every night this week, so it's going well. Okay, it's a bit dark in there. There we go. We're looking in the burn chamber, and basically, when I'm cleaning it out to start a new fire, I always leave some of the old unburnt coals in there because that's going to help create a fresh coal bed really quickly. So you don't have to throw it all out. You can actually just take the ash out. There's always more ash towards the front. Pull that out and leave those coals there because that's going to help get the whole thing running much quicker. I like cooking with fire, but I don't like smoke in the eyes. And as you can see, we have zero smoke. Look at that. Look at that. Now, in order to keep my wife happy, I've had to cook some vegetables with this roast. So, technically still vegetables. Oh, yes. This potato is not very happy. Yeet. Plan is, once the roast is more cooked, these will be cooked as well, and I'm going to add all of that in with the roast, and we're going to cook it all together in the final stages, and hopefully we'll just get some real tasty goodness happening. That's really happy. So this might help someone out there. When you're feeding your rocket stove, don't poke the fuel all the way in. Just set it on the entrance, far enough in that it can't fall out. And what that does is sort of preheat it. You're not sort of taking any heat from the chamber, or not a great deal. And when that next lot of wood is sort of burnt out and this is ready to go, it's already well and truly established, and you just sort of push it in. And it's just a simple way of maintaining a really consistent temperature. Now, I've actually overfueled that. It doesn't need that much in there, but I just want to get this pot going happily. And I've only got the frying pan up there just to help keep the heat going across the top of the oven, helping to keep this at a slightly higher temperature. So, another thing, a huge advantage to this style of pot holder is all of the heat is, it's going that way or that way, but it's not coming out this way. And that means that these handles, your pot handles, don't get hot. And it's a huge advantage to this style of pot rail. I'm calling it the pot rail. Oh yeah, we're overfueled majorly now. Just creating a little bit of smoke.
You can help that.
Oh. Are you trying to climb over the gate? Not trying, succeeding.
Hanko.
Oh, you keep pressing the button. Oh yeah. Yeah, let's have a quick peek. we're going to leave that off now, I think. And let's plug it back in. Oh, that's heavy. Go. Well, the roast. I reckon she's not done yet. I've flipped it around, I've added the potato. We're going to put it straight back in. There. Very good. It's so good. I'm achieving something, and I'm also doing nothing at the same time. It's just chef's kiss.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, yep.
Yep. Ooh la la.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, let's take it inside.
Okay.
Oh, looks good.
Ooh, beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
You did it.
We did it. Look at that.
Very nice.
Success.